besties, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyan and this is Kyan is Booked, and today is officially our last Trope Tuesday of vlogtober 2024, and I feel like we're going out with a bang, ladies and gentlemen. So today I had a list of 8 dark romances I was going to talk about, but then I pulled all the ones off of my shelves that I put into this video, and then I was like, wait, I kind of want some more time to talk about just these 6. So I've cut 2. Tough decision, but somebody had to make it. And I'm going to talk about the ones that I have right here in front of me. And also it's out of order on the notes that I took. So we're winging it, friends. And by winging it, I mean like I can talk about these series until like the cows come home. But I just want to double check like some of the information so I don't lie to anybody about it. So let's start off with the one that I'm probably like the most nervous to talk about, and that is Scarred by Emily McIntyre, and this is in the Never After series. Last I checked, it had 4 books, but each book is its own couple, so they're all interconnected standalones. So what's really nice about that is like we get the couples happily ever after at the end of this book. So like it's not like it's a, you're not hanging off of a cliff, I guess is the best thing that I'm saying here, right? So this follows Prince Tristan and Lady Sarah Beatrix, and Sarah is actually betrothed to his brother. So this is like a brother's fiance romance, and they're definitely enemies to lovers. And it's a fairy tale reimagining, and this one it takes on the characters from what would be The Lion King. I would say like we read this for book club last year, and Jess and I'm pretty sure this is probably our favorite one, if not like in second place for the favorite. But so we're following this couple, and like Tristan's like instantaneously attracted to her, and she's pretty attracted to him as well. And it's, you know, it's the tension, it's the like he's a prince, but like he's the darker of the 2 princes, and like he's not gonna be the one who like takes on the throne. It's all that drama like leading into the 2 of them finally giving into the temptation of being together. And I still vividly remember this story. I'm also going to usher this by saying that I haven't read any of the other books in this series. So I just want to be honest in saying that like I don't really know how the other books pan out, but this one was dark, delicious, had really amazing like intimate scenes, like sexy scenes, and overall I just loved it, right? Absolutely loved it. And I don't know, like maybe I should do a brother's fiance like sub trope rec video, because I've been reading a lot of these recently and I am really into them. So I definitely recommend specifically checking out Scarred, but if you have the opportunity, definitely reading more of Emily McIntyre because I love her. Okay, next up, we all know Rena Kent. So this is the Fit Teacher Rachel Rena Kent exclusive edition. So this has Deviant King, Steel Princess, and Twisted Kingdom in it. And this is the first 3 books in the Royal Elite trilogy. Now, when we're talking about Rena Kent, you really can read any of her books, because like this whole Renaverse, as she refers to it as, like it lives in the dark spaces, if you will. So I don't necessarily think that you cannot like pick a book and it not be dark from this. However, like if you're one of the people like me and like to read in publication order, like to know like how everything connects, I started with the Royal Elite series, and I am 8 books away from the Gods of series, which is not called the Gods of series, but you know what I mean, like God of Malice, God of Pain. I'm looking right here because they're like literally right there on my shelves. So this follows Aiden and Elsa, and they have a very interesting backstory. And I'm not going to go too deep into it, but they're from rival families. They're both the heirs to the rival families, and their dads like absolutely hated each other. And so it kind of like fell to the children to carry on the legacy of it. However, Elsa's parents met a very untimely end, and then it kind of left her hanging out there, and then she ends up living with like her aunt and uncle, and so she comes back years later and is inserted back into this society that she left for a period of time. And Aiden has like, he's out to get her, right? And he is so angry with her for reasons that like she can't remember, doesn't understand, isn't sure, because there are gaps in her memory about what happened. And it's a very convoluted way that all of this starts to come out, but it's so dark. Like, he is a huge bully to her, says like super hateful things to her. This is new adult, it's enemies to lovers, like I said, rival families. It's very deliciously dark to me. Also, I do want to say, like, if you don't end up liking, so like they're the couple for the first 3 books, but there are 4 other couples that you read about in this series, and then we spin off and we see like kind of like the sub characters or like the secondary characters start to get their stories in the other duets and trilogies. So I definitely recommend like starting from the beginning, because like we're still referring back to this trilogy right here in Empire of Hate, which is what I'm reading right now. So if you like the backstory and you want to understand how everything connects, I definitely recommend starting from here. But it is very dark. It is like, Aiden hates this girl. Well, you know, hate and love are like 2 sides of the same coin. But he like absolutely hates her, loathes her, refuses to tell her why too. Like, that was a sticking point for me. Like, I was like, bro, if you're not going to tell her why you don't like her, like, just leave her alone at this point. And yeah, so I definitely really enjoyed this. I do like another couple in this series just a little bit more than I like Aiden and Elsa, and they are the trilogy couple. So a lot of things that happen within these 3 books like ties back to the relationship or like their friendships in later on series. So definitely want to pick this one up. Definitely dark, definitely like bullyish if you're into those vibes, but you can't go wrong when picking up a Rena book, except for like the 8+6 that I haven't read yet. Every book that I've read has had like some level of like dark and twisty. Oh, I forgot to mention, the Royal Elite series is complete. So there are 6, I'm gonna say 7 books. Like, she says book 0 is the novella, but it's like 300 pages. So I'm gonna say 7 books. All right, next up, I definitely want to shout about this. So if you haven't read The Predator by Runix yet, you definitely need to hop on board, because the final book comes out on November 15th. And if you know, you know, and if you don't, this is where you need to begin. So this follows Tristan and Morena Vitalo, and they are rival families. This is a mafia series. They are hardcore rival families. Like, she is the heiress daughter of his rival family. He's the enforcer for the family that he works for. But there's always been this like very, I don't want to say subtle attraction, but there's always been a level of attraction between the 2 of them, right? And it definitely ramps up in this book. And what I really, really liked about this is like, it really too like comes down to the plot, comes down to like the players within the mafia world. And it comes down to, for me, how well thought out this is, because I've read all the way up to book 5 in the Dark Verse series. So I've seen the other couples, I've seen the progression of their duet. Tristan is absolutely like, would kill for her, would die for her, like, don't touch her, in love with her. And she, I wouldn't say like she doesn't feel a level of attraction for him, but like also like there's this level of fear, because he has this like, I mean, he has a reputation, like he's the enforcer for the other family, and she needs answers, and she wants to know, like, she was kidnapped at a young age, and she wants to understand, like, you know, where she comes from, how she fits into the picture, and all of that kind of stuff. And it is just, you can't tell me too much about this man, because like, I'm not going to listen to you, because I'm obsessed with him and I love him. And I love their relationship. Like, it's such a beautiful relationship, in my humble opinion. But I definitely recommend it. Like I said, November 15th. Or if you're watching this after November 15th, like, the series is complete, and we love a good complete series. And The Predator is definitely like the start of a series that is gut-wrenching, but beautiful at the same time. And I very much look forward to this indicator, which is going to give us answers that like we've been waiting for since this book, since we understood what Tristan's been fighting for so long. And I will say The Reaper, which is the second book in their duet, which is the next book in the series, is probably some of my all-time favorite work, just watching their love story play out and the depths that Tristan has gone to. So the Madison Kate series by Tate James obviously starts out with hate, and this is a story of how Madison Kate was murdered. I'm not gonna lie to you, I have not read this in a while. I mean, it has a cult following, so if you haven't read it yet, I definitely recommend like getting on it. It is signed. I love this for me. So basically this follows Madison Kate, and she is kind of taking the fall for the political situation that her father, who is this is like small town vibes, that her father has kind of left everybody in, and she like left and then she's come back and she falls in with these guys. This is a Why Choose. This is an enemies to lovers. This very much has like deep dark ties, like very heavy like political dark ties, and it's kind of like the story of her like coming into her own, but also kind of understanding like the power dynamics and like where she falls within the power dynamics now that her dad's like essentially fallen from grace, I think is the best way to explain it. I highly recommend it. It's 4 books and a novella. So, and it's complete because obviously there are spin-off series from the series already. But yeah, no, like there's not too much you can tell me about this, and I don't want to say too much because like I said, I haven't read it in a little bit, so like I wouldn't want to accidentally give you guys spread edges. I wouldn't want to accidentally give you guys spoilers for the series because I can't quite remember like where kind of everything leaves off, but like there are cliffhangers. Audiobooks are really good if you're into audiobooks, and it definitely like it keeps you guessing, but like also too at the same time, like the suspense and the tension of it is just too good. So the Antiheroes and Love Duet by Gianna Darling. So this is when heroes fall and when villains rise, and this follows Elena and Dante. We have previously met Elena. So she's the 3rd sibling within this world to get her series. So you can read this as a standalone, or you can go back to the Evolution of Sin trilogy, right? I highly recommend going back to Evolution of Sin trilogy because you're probably expecting the anti-hero to be Dante, who is our male main character, but I really think that Elena really ends up being our anti-hero this one, because heading into this, like if you're a reader of Gianna, you didn't like Elena because she wasn't a very likable character, and you didn't understand her motivations. You didn't understand why she was so cold, why she was so standoffish, why she had certain perceptions, and I don't want to give it up because it's definitely kind of like spoilers for the Evolution of Sin trilogy, but she had certain perceptions of things that were going on, but they weren't accurate representations. So like she started fights and she got upset with people, and a lot of things happened based off of like assumptions that she made, right? So we're heading into the series. Not a lot of people were excited about it. I was excited for it because I love a good anti-hero, and I love seeing those anti-heroes be able to become favorites, right? And Elena's definitely become a favorite for me. Like there is so much that she keeps behind her walls. There's so much that she's hiding from people. There's so much that she's unwilling to tell people. And it definitely hurts my heart because like she's such a wonderful character and like a wonderful person in my opinion. But she doesn't necessarily trust, especially after this situation happens in the Evolution of Sin trilogy. Like she's reeling from a lot of medical issues. She is super upset, and she is very cold and she is very calculating, and she ends up being a lawyer for Dante, and Dante is well and truly embroiled in the mafia, and she has very clear lines, right? But when she meets Dante, and when one of his stipulations becomes like a forced proximity situation where like she has to stay with him to ensure that like he's not running out on his stipulations with the court, you really start to see another side of Elena, one that Dante clocked like immediately, right? So beneath that exterior that she's built to prevent herself from being hurt again, to prevent herself from allowing others to kind of impose how they're feeling on her, Dante sees it all. He sees that she feels too much. He sees so much about her so quickly, and I find it to be like arguably one of the most beautiful things about the relationship is just like how accepting of her he is, and how No. Oh, and how he just looks at her coldness and like looks at her walls and goes, cool, I'm just gonna scale them. Like, he sees her for exactly who she is and he goes, great, I still want you. And I think their relationship is so incredibly beautiful, and the more I talk about it, the more I want to go back and reread this. But yeah, so this is the bind up of both of the books. But like I said, the first book is When Heroes Fall, and the second book is When Villains Rise. It is a completed duet. It is arguably one of my favorite pieces of writing from Gianna Darling, which is a heck of a thing to admit because I have a very extensive Gianna Darling collection and I adore her as a person. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, there's really something about Elena that I just haven't ever really been able to put off because I adore her so. And I really wanted to end this one with a banger. So, Deliver by Pam Godwin. This is a 9-book series. It is complete. I only have 2 more books of the series to go. So I'm really going to try and keep things, I don't want to say vague, but try really hard not to spoil it because I don't even really know how it all ends, but I do know, right, the progression of it. You do want to read them in order. While there's a different couple per book, you want to read it in progressive order because they're all interconnected, and the larger plot, you don't want to spoil yourself by reading a book earlier and then having to circle back around and try and figure out like how they all connect. So this is Deliver. This starts off with, his name's Joshua Carter, and I mean, he's stunning, right? And she is going to, oh my God, she's going to kidnap him. And he's perfect for the buyer that wants him. And she is going to turn him essentially into a S-slave. I think that's probably how I'm going to say it in this. So S-slave. So you have Liv, and she is stuck in a situation of she was once kidnapped. She was once turned into this. She can't go back to her old life. She's kept in this life by somebody else. And they in turn have had a child together, and the person who's responsible for like this entire organization situation like keeps her in this situation and keeps her going back to get more and more slaves for him, due to the fact that she wants to see her child, right? I don't feel like that's a spoiler because it's definitely a motivation that we know about early on. And we know that Liv is really struggling with her role in this one because she's never fallen for the person that they've kidnapped or they've captured before. But there's something about Joshua, there's something about him that just will not let her go, right? This is some of Pam Godwin's best work. Like, I'm a huge Pam Godwin stan. I love her. I have plenty of her special editions. I can't wait to like finally meet her because I am such a big fangirl. But this is beautiful. It is so dark. It is so gritty. You have to be in the right mind space for it. If you have trigger warnings, I definitely recommend going in with this eyes wide open, understanding the triggers. Even if it might spoil a book for you, please understand that like if you have a trigger, it's in this series. It's in this series. It may not be in the first book and it may not be in the second book, but it will pop up at any time. You deal with really rough scenarios. Like, we're talking about sex slaves, like we're S-slaves. We're talking about people who have been bought and sold. We're talking about people who have been literally kidnapped from their families and brought to these places for the sole purpose of being broken and turned into something for somebody else and bought and paid for, let's be clear. So be very careful when you go into this. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Josh and Liv, I love them. Are they my favorite couple? No. I'm not going to tell you who my favorite couple is because I need to finish the series, right? And I don't want to pick favorites until I'm all the way to the end. And I have a feeling Book 9 is probably going to be my favorite. But that's neither here nor there. What I want everybody to understand is like, this is, you can't go wrong with a book like this. But please also understand that you have to mind your triggers within this series. It is so dark. Like, I haven't finished the series yet because I'm not ready to dive that dark into my psyche again. And that's what I'm gonna say. Like I said, Liv is gonna train Josh, but the problem is she's falling in love with him. And that wraps up Trope Tuesday for Vlogtober 2024. Let me know if you found any series that you'd be interested in reading, or if you've already read a series. I would love to chat in the comments down below. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel yet, definitely hit that subscribe button, because the fun doesn't stop at the end of October, which is in a few days. I'm going to keep posting videos, and I have a lot of things planned for the end of the year and for the beginning of the year. And I think that's it. I'm gonna go drink some more coffee because I'm like already hyped up, so why not? I'm gonna go drink some more coffee, gonna edit this and get it posted, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.